Hey there, thanks for joining us at the Rabbit Hole of Research, where you'll learn a few facts that you can impress your friends with at a party.
Hey, welcome back to the Rabbit Hole of Research down here in the basement studio. You have me, Joe.
We got Nick.
We've got Nick.
And hi, Georgia.
We've got Georgia, and we have a special guest joining us.
I'm Kurt Baumeister. I'm an author. I'm coming to you from Philadelphia, which
Philly.
I understand now that Joe also originally is coming to us from Philadelphia.
Born and raised.
And I'm an author of two novels. My most recent novel is called Twilight of the Gods. It's a postmodern retelling of Norse mythology from the point of view of Loki. And it differs a lot from the Marvel Universe and American Gods and that sort of stuff, because in my scenario, Loki's good. He's the only one of the gods that's good. And the other thing to remember is that the Norse gods are the only ones that are real. And,
Yeah, right.
so
Cool.
that's what I've got going on. I write satire.
Awesome.
I mean, so far what I've read of it, I've been enjoying it. Thanks for the copy. It's been a good read so far. I think I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably like a third way through. I started reading yours in mistake for a different episode, and then I got a little confused, and I'm like, which book am I reading?
I was like, yeah, you're reading the wrong book. It's the wrong guest coming on. What are you doing? But Nick was super excited to talk about Loki. He's been asking for a Loki episode since
Absolutely.
we started the podcast a little over
wow.
a year and a half ago. And then when Ben was like, oh, I have an author that written a book about starring Loki, and it was like, oh, you got to be on then. So that's it. Yeah, and I do, as always with episodes, have sort of a definition. And I have some lists, but we can do my definition. This is of Loki. And Kurt, you can, when I'm done, jump in, tell me I'm wrong. But Loki is a figure that operates at the intersection of mythology, literature, psychology, and physics. Loki is not just a character, he's a meta-agent of transformation, at once mythic and modern, symbolizing instability in systems, mythic orders, political regimes, personal identity, and even quantum timelines. He is what happens when control systems fail to fully suppress the unpredictable. So that's where I have my...
That's very cool. I like that angle, and honestly, the science angle is not one that I'm really personally equipped to answer too much to, but I really like hearing about it, and I totally get it, because he's a trickster god, so he's definitely an agent of chaos and entropy, and I can totally see how, and that kind of ties in with the fact that a lot of this book, and both my books are political, but this one is, to a certain extent, it's the present tense action set in Germany, but it's a sort of fictionalized contemporary Germany, an alternate present that looks a lot like America does right now, meaning that it's in a place that's got two sides competing with each other, the fascist authoritarian side and a democratic side. And in a lot of ways, the scenario that I've built for the book is, it looks like 2016 did in America. And it was funny because putting this together, we were working on final edits. This book was supposed to come out last fall before the election.
Right.
And we got to the point where I was like, this needs some more editing. And so even though I felt like I was kind of shooting myself in the foot, I had to postpone it. I thought Trump was going to lose again. I thought Trump was going to lose all three times. So that'll tell you what I am. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, Loki, the swing back there, and maybe start with the literary take, is this could be seen as a metafictional character and almost aware of his role in the as a narrative device of this fighting against deterministic kind of nature of even the story that he's in. I mean, is that, I know you said you tried to switch up the Loki character, but is that where you were heading?
Yeah, for sure. And the more I talk about this book, the more I come to think of it, and this gets into the metafiction, that it's on some level, it's no more in a sense, because there's this first-person narrator that's the god of lies, that's Loki, and then there's this minor character named Kurt, who's a novelist, and then there's me, Kurt, who wrote the book. And if you take those as three parts of my psyche. It's like id, ego, superego. I don't know which one is which at any given point in time. But yeah, I mean, I think that very much I was very interested in looking at the metafictional aspects of fiction as a whole, but also the myths and deconstructing the myths and kind of taking Loki out of the myths and seeing what he would do in the modern world.
Yeah, and so you said a memoir. Do you find yourself as a trickster? Are you a trickster?
A little bit, yeah. I mean,
Or are you a god? I don't know.
No, I'm definitely not a god. Although I think it's funny because, I mean, writers, any artists are playing God to a certain extent. I mean, it's creating a world from scratch.
And breaking things and fixing things.
Rewriting the history of things.
Yes. Mr. Editor, that's right. No, this is my toys. You can't play in my sandbox. Leave me alone.
It's funny. I never actually thought of Loki as a bad guy. Yeah, he played pranks and stuff, but he also he doesn't do anything super bad for the most part.
Yeah.
Throughout the mythos,
Norse mythology, he started Ragnarok. And even MCU he did also, right?
I mean, that's not really a bad thing.
It's really interesting because like the myths, the Viking myths, evolve in line with Christianity. They get
That's right. That's right.
So Loki starts out, Nick, much more as like whether the telling, sometimes it's like a foster brother to Odin, sometimes it's a foster son to Odin, but they're friends, they're companions, and he is with the other gods too. And over time, that kind of changes. It goes through a middle period where he's more just like a guard variety trickster, and he's turning into a female giant, messing with Thor, or doing something like that. But by the end, when the mythology's gotten fully mingled with Christianity, he is this like sort of Luciferian, satanic figure at the end who basically causes the apocalypse or Armageddon, whatever, Ragnarok. And that was something that was really interesting for me because it's you see how the mythology evolves to meet Christianity.
It's interesting that you had mentioned that too, because of the TV show Supernatural, the character Gabriel pretended to be Loki. I mean, that's and then revealed himself as Gabriel, the archangel. Yeah.
I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
was that an earlier season?
I don't. I mean, I'm
assuming it was an
season,
earlier season if he was
pretending, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
because then he became a main character and everything.
that connection to
In the movie Dogma, isn't one of the
Yeah,
Ben Affleck, and one of them's Loki,
I
right?
think that was Matt Damon for that.
Yeah.
so that connection
It's
between
been too long.
It's such a good
yeah.
I-
But that brings up. I mean, we had a Doctor Who episode.
Yep.
And in that episode, I had made the comment that Doctor Who has a trickster, Loki, agent of paradoxical figure who embraces the chaos and is compassionate. And I think that's the next point, that Loki has some compassion for the people, but he also he wants the chaos. Right.
You go with the chaos. Like,
yeah.
It's one of those lessons that you can learn. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's going to hell, but you can ride it.
Oh, wow. This does remind me of the time we're in.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Talk about chaos.
I had other characters who I made those my lists because I give a definition, somewhere I sneak in a list. But I did have, and Doctor Who was there. But I also thought they were throughout kind of modern fiction. I'm going to stay with modern fiction. But Q from Star Trek, if you're familiar with that character, omnipotent, mischievous, really invested in testing humanity's limits. That was like Loki. The Joker, at some level, you have that, embraces the chaos, lives in the chaos, sees himself as a counterbalance to order.
I would say that depends on which Joker what iteration you go with.
Yeah, good
That could be a
point.
little
Because
bit,
some of them are just like ranged.
Really dark. It's really, yeah.
But I mean, then again, Loki can
yeah.
still take that form as well.
Right, yeah. And to Georgia, I had the Cheshire Cat and Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. And Wonderland.
That's the other lesser
That's
known
the lesser
story.
known.
Chops on the mind, right?
Certainly, I go down the rabbit hole, go down the lamb chop hole.
It's a song that never ends. It goes on and on, my friends.
And one I thought who breaks kind of the fourth wall is Deadpool. I also see him as that trickster, that a disregard for conventional heroism, and I'm gonna do it my way.
Then you
and
could
kinda
also
make
put
it
She-Hulk in there too.
I don't think so. I don't know if she embraces chaos. I think chaos just happens as she tries to figure out her life. I mean, she
Accepts chaos, or
I don't know if she accepts it. I think she's trying to be orderly.
I mean, yeah, because she's a lawyer.
Right. She is a lawyer. And then had Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
He also is like a trickster in there. So he's Loki's my other name, Dominion. We see it through fiction. I think if we think of stories, I think we could probably find other examples. But these were some that I pulled out for sake of the episode.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, I think Nick was right. I didn't like in terms of my Loki. Yeah, he's definitely not constructed as evil. He's definitely constructed as much more of a neutral or even good figure. But part of what I kept coming back to was that, like, with gods, we're always trying to make gods either good or evil, or the whole idea that we create our own gods. And the reality is that, like, none of us are purely good or evil. And so it's artificial.
And to think that a god would be either purely good or purely evil, there's so much gray in between that they all fall in.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say that, yeah, this one thing is perfectly great. It's no. There's still that mayhem that happens, that little bit of anarchy that happens in between there.
Yep.
And I feel like that's where Loki ends up shining, where you don't see him as perfect, or them. I don't know what some Lokis are. Loki goes by whatever it wants.
Yeah, I mean, part of what I had to do was do whatever I needed to break away from the more popular, like, contemporary Loki of Tom Hiddleston's Marvel.
Yeah, you said a mix between Denzel Washington and Taye Diggs, which gave such a vivid picture. And I was like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I really wanted to, like, break away from any, like, preconception that people would have of, oh, this is that Loki.
Right. But then Loki, I mean, he also had many versions of himself, even within the same story. So your version's different, but he still could be part of the continuums of Loki, which is a fun character where you can just have a character and then they could be Taye Diggs and Denzel Washington's
Love child.
Which, here you go, folks.
Yeah, I mean, he even changes shapes in a lot
That's
of
right.
it, and or like changes gender
So-
and
Turns into a
does he
snake.
does he have to eat Big Macs to change?
Yes. Yeah. What's
have to eat Big Mac.
what's the
Like, how many Big Macs to go from?
The Hamburglar is another form of Loki.
You're right.
It's- yeah. No.
A little evil. I mean, the Hamburglar he scared me when I was a little kid.
Hamburglar was, yes.
I mean, yeah, they
Yes.
had to do some
Yeah, I was
major
like, yeah,
redesigns on that
nice.
They
character.
need to bring
I
the
think I
Hamburglar
might
back.
have a Hamburglar.
I think in the train
From
they
when
have
I-
the McDonald's train.
Yeah, we have the McDonald's train. And it has the
Hamburglar.
Hamburglar.
Wow.
Hamburglar. Wait, so we can link back to the whole lamb thing that we were doing.
But yeah, I definitely do find Loki being like such an interesting character to build off of, and reading your story in a different perspective of the MCU or Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Seeing that Loki is a very cool evolution.
So, at what point were you writing the book and that series was out? Were you already working on this book?
Yeah, I was. I started, this will sound crazy, but I've been trying to put Norse mythology into contemporary fiction for a long time at this point.
right.
I was in grad school back around the turn of the millennium. That was a different project, but this one I was probably working on it in this incarnation for maybe 15 years.
Oh, damn.
So after I read American Gods about 5 or 6 years ago, so long after I started working on the project, I definitely had seen like the Thor, the TV show from the 60s.
Right.
And the comic books, of course. And I was familiar with Dungeons and Dragons has like Loki in it and stuff like that. That was a frame of reference to.
Was it like the 80s Dungeons and Dragons cartoon with the Loki character in it? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I'm
It was
thinking
like-
more of the game itself.
I figured that, but I was like, that was just triggered. There was like some 80s cartoon or
Yeah.
Can't say I'm
But
familiar. I love
nonetheless.
D&D, but
We'll have to do some research.
yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah, I think the Marvel Loki, I mean, really, because they're tethering into their universe, is really involves the multiverse and the timeline and how Loki is embracing of the chaos and chaos theory was disruptive to the timeline and disruptive to that, which they're using that as a narrative kind of device, maybe to explore identity. And in that series, which is a different play on probably maybe the more serious of the Marvel characters in the MCU would be Loki in terms of its philosophical and psychological kind of makeup, and they're having fun with that. But versus the action, fist first, fire first.
using your brain over
That's
your
right.
brawn.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially in the TV show, right?
Right, yeah, yeah.
The Loki TV show.
Yeah.
Get into that. And I think, I mean, just to be clear, I think, Tom Hiddleston's great. He's a great actor, and it's a great interpretation of Loki. I just didn't want to, I wanted to
Right.
steer away from it.
Yeah.
You wanted to have your own lane for him.
yeah. And there's so much room to play in the sandbox. I mean, it's why not? Why follow that up when you really, I mean, unless you have a $100 million movie budget, then go for it, Kurt. Yeah, that's right. And hire me as a writer. But I think that Loki is fun. So I'm gonna throw something out. And what if AI becomes Loki in digital chaos? And I say that because there's just an article about the more complex and the more information, and people probably, let's put a little backdrop, hallucinations. So AI, they're trained on data that humans have created over the millennia. When you ask questions to the AI, it should use that training data to give you answers. But if it doesn't know the answer, it just makes something up. And they call those hallucinations. Yeah. And so you would think the fix of that is to you would give more data and it should get better. So you put more training data in, give it more energy, and you go hallucinations to go down. So for a period of time, it did go down. But now they're seeing hallucinations go back up as they keep feeding more data. So it's just making more stuff up.
I think in
It should have a
general,
conflict.
And so
Conflict of information where so-and-so says this, but this person says that.
yeah, but you would say that, right? You wouldn't make up random. So you go, oh, here's this.
But if you're
Give
looking
me
for a
the-
yes or no answer, they're going to be like, yeah.
No, it's more than that. It's where it not only will it do that, it won't, but you yourself would give limits to it, right? You would go, someone asks you a question, you go, I'm really not sure, but here's what I think is the answer, right? We do that sometimes on the show when we put in the show notes. The AI just goes, here's the answer. And then it goes beyond that. It will, can you explain it? Then it'll make up like just random stuff. It will just give you random facts.
So it's like
make
someone
up this whole
asking me a
story.
question.
Yes.
So essentially it's just, hey, Nick, what's this? It's, I don't know, man. I think it was a dog that
That's
ate
like
it.
someone comes in and go, can you explain the square cube law?
Yep.
That we've talked about on many episodes.
100%. I know exactly how this one works.
Square cubes.
Yeah, so it came on our
So a
episode about
square is
shrinking.
like a shape.
When you shrink or expand something, so this was an episode about making something bigger, the volume expands faster than the surface area because the surface area is square and the volume is cubed. And so if you expand and vice versa, if you shrink down, and it is something that you got to take into consideration, which most comic and fiction does not. So we've had these conversations about it. But yeah, so you have these hallucinations and you go, and it could be seen as maybe a trickster trait. So as you go forward, would AI just fully develop into a Loki? Like that is our agent of chaos.
I love the idea that the AI is just your drunk friend, just throwing things out there.
Yeah. I mean,
I heard this once.
that doesn't want to admit they don't know anything.
right, yes, you go. I mean, and you could you fast forward and maybe a piece of fiction with the Loki become a self-aware glitch. And maybe that's all Loki is in our thought there. So
I hope someone names an AI Loki now.
Kurt looks like he wants to jump in. So
It's weird because like my first book, Pax Americana, is about like AI to a certain extent. It's like about this God software that everybody's satirical spy novel. It's about this God software that everybody's trying to get their hands on. All these, and sort of religion has run amok, and fundamentalist Christianity in the U.S. and there's just one Republican president after the next, and it's just, and that sort of happens everywhere in the world. Like in the Muslim world, it's become everywhere's become very fundamentalist. And anyway, so the tie-in is that it's that there's AI, and it's funny because it's not the way you just described. It's different in that like people. It's more like people are turning the AI into what they want it to be. But I like what you just said about the AI being more like a glitch, because that does seem more like the reality of what we're living with now.
yeah, AI eventually maybe breaks free of human kind of conversation and thought and begins to have this kind of chaos. And with the idea, maybe similar to Loki, that chaos is essential to growth and positive transformation, because that's what both yourself and Nick. I mean, that's Loki isn't innately evil or bad. It's just the way he likes to go about things. Is
the way life is. It's chaos.
It's because life finds a way.
Life
finds a way.
Always have to go back to that.
Jeff Goldblum, the season 1 rabbit hole of research.
Jeff Goldblum?
Alien. No, he wasn't on the show. No,
We're still working on
we gave him an
that.
honorary award for being in the most extraterrestrial themed movies and shows, and so that was.
He hasn't accepted that
He
word
hasn't
yet.
accepted it yet. He hasn't shown up in person to accept his award.
Nor acknowledged any of Joe's letters.
Yeah, that's right. The ones I haven't sent yet. Yeah, but yeah, we try to work it in. So Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum, if you're out there, we would love to reunite you guys. Yeah, no, I think Loki is fun, and like you said, the roots is in Old Norse literature and poetry. I think from the 13th century, maybe written, and then oral traditions before that is the history.
It evolved over a bunch of centuries, and it really, it really changes at the end when it gets, I think it's called syncretism or something like that, when combined two religions, and that happened with Christianity and a lot of the pagan religions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started taking from each other's area of what mythology, is that what we're going to call it?
Mythology, yes. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Mythology.
So like there's a lot of crossover between a lot of different religions, and you're like, oh, this sounds exactly like something that happened over here, and it's
well. I also, if you're going to convert people or create a new belief structure, then you want to ground it in things that people are familiar with, right? That makes the leap easier, so you can slip in the new stuff, because then they're very comfortable with the old stuff, right? It's if you're trying to get a kid to eat some new food, you put it with a bunch of other stuff that they know, French fries, applesauce, and then you have like peas in there.
Is this how you do this?
There you go.
I've never done this.
That's what you do, because they're so happy eating the other stuff, and then it's, oh, what's this thing? And then it's tasty too, and so you just get it in there. You sneak it in.
Are you taking notes?
No.
You have to be a trickster. You got to be a trickster of food to get those toddlers to eat stuff.
I
Sometimes,
just put it on the plate and she eats it. That's all it is.
Airplane.
Yeah.
And an airplane. That's right. Or you trade. Either way, it works. See, airplanes are cool. And yeah, we're gonna fly these peas into your mouth.
Okay, I don't even know how that's related to Loki or.
Joe thinks he's Loki over here. That's
I
what's
am,
happening.
yeah.
Oh
I'm an
yeah,
agent of chaos. So
I remember.
actually,
It's about religion.
If I'm assigning Loki, it's Nick. Nick is the agent of chaos on this podcast. Yes.
What can I say? Yeah, I like a little mayhem sometimes.
Just admiring you guys' studio there, like all the different stuff.
Oh, thank you.
It's very chaotic, right?
Now, is this somebody's rec room or basement?
It's my office. That is the.
It's the basement
studio. Yeah,
studios.
so it's my office where I write and create at. But yeah, no, and now it's been converted halfway into a studio, so that's it. So yeah, hopefully we'll have video. We keep teasing it, but it feels like
Is that a season 3 thing now?
I pushed it to season 3, but you never know. We've onboarded things before
I
that.
don't.
So.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening before season 3.
Yes.
But
Well, yeah, and then go ahead. I was going to say that culturally, there were other tricksters like Coyote, or in
Yep.
African lore, the Anansi. You had these other figures, so it's not just related to Norse mythology, but throughout human civilizations and cultures, you get this figure that keeps popping up.
so you think of trickster as like humorous and having a sense of humor, and then I think a lot of times you can get your message across a lot better if you are using like humor.
Yeah.
So it's like a
putting your message in satire,
Yeah,
Right,
it's like a
right.
power.
which I think is why he would work really well, like in that political field where it's you're poking fun at this X, Y, and Z just to push your point across.
Yeah. Also, it gives you that impulse to rebel and transgress against the status quo and bring that kind of, be an agent of change if people like it or not. And I guess that the question of good or bad probably refers to if
What
the
side
change is
you're
right
on,
of the change that's being implemented, or
which is just
campaign
any
for.
villain or hero. It's
Right.
depending on what side of the story you're reading.
yeah.
It's, I'm on this side.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Kurt, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, not at all. No, I mean, for sure. It very, if you like, I mean, I think you get really abstract about stuff. You can extract pure good or pure evil, but like when you look at life, reality, and even when you look at fiction, it's very hard to come up with pure good or pure evil. And
Right,
you can
right.
flip a story very much. You can just look like, you can twist it. And because really, I mean, there's a lot of stuff about heroes and villains and anti-heroes and anti-villains, but I just feel like everybody's the hero of their own story.
Awesome.
Even if
Right.
they're totally delusional about that, they think they're the hero. There's so many.
You
like,
don't wake up
villains.
going, yeah, I'm a villain today. It's no,
Right,
I'm
right.
doing good because
Right.
X, Y, I'm doing this for these people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think in story, the best stories are the ones where both the protagonist and antagonist have a compelling reason to get up in the morning and do what they do.
And also that the people reading those stories can relate.
That's right. Relate to,
Both.
yep, that's right. Yep,
Both
yep,
villains
yep,
and hero.
yep. So I think that is important when we think about it. And Loki's one of those two you root for, but then you know he's going to do something that's going to just get under your skin. Like, why'd you do that thing?
This is why I always bring it back to Doom. Dr. Doom is
Dr. Doom.
that.
Doctor Doom.
Thank you.
Dr. Doom.
Like, he is doing what's best for his people. Yeah, he doesn't go through it the best ways, but it's what he believes is correct.
Right then.
He's an interesting because he's like he's like an authoritarian ruler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say so. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. With
He's got
magical.
like a Eastern European principality that he
Yeah.
rules, and yeah.
Yeah. It would be a mix between science and the magic. But Dr. Doom is a compelling character.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those characters where it's hard to hate him, but it's also hard to root for him all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, he
Sorry, good.
no, please go. You're
I was just gonna say, I was thinking like you made me think of the movie Unbreakable.
Oh, yes. With Bruce Willis.
Mr. Glass
Yes. Yep.
is
Yep. Yes.
so interesting because he only really starts to seem really evil at the end, but then I don't know, you just get all of his backstory. He had a pretty rough.
Bringing up. Yeah. But he had that cool line when he's being dragged off, and I knew I was going to be a villain when the kid started calling me Mr. Glass. And it was like, oh yeah, that is it. You get the nickname. So it was very interesting because you're right. The story was built as Bruce Willis' character's name, his origin story of him discovering his power. You think of Spider-Man, Superman, all these, they have their origin story, but you went through it where you're following this character and you didn't know what or how he was going to become. And then you had it turn out that Mr. Glass had orchestrated all these kind of historical train crashes, car.
Well, don't spoil it. What year
It's
is
older
that?
than 20 years.
I don't know.
Yeah, so we have a rule: you can't spoil anything that's 20 years or less. But I think Unbreakable. I watched that in grad school, which was the late 90s.
Okay, but
so
you
I'm
still
pretty
don't-
sure we're safe. And I'm not spoiling anything. I'll stand on this hill that if the movie's worth its salt or book, you can't spoil it.
But I think that sometimes those things that you don't know yet, and if you're experiencing it for the first time, you enjoy it more if you don't know.
I feel like this is the number one conversation we've had. It's mainly between you two.
And the guests we have on never say anything. They don't get involved. They're like, you know what? Just don't spoil my book, right?
You don't want to make a host mad. There are 3 of you guys.
He'll edit us. Don't worry.
Yeah, it gets edited.
No, I thought of another villain just recently, Kingpin
Kingpin, yes.
in Daredevil. Oh my!
And Daredevil Reborn, if you haven't watched it, go out and watch it. Really, yeah.
And to talk about being a villain
Yeah.
and struggling with that, and then his nature, like I think he really was thinking, "Oh, I can do this mayor thing, and I can." And then also,
Whoa, don't spoil it. He's a mayor now?
That happens in the first episode, okay?
All right, so we have to put George on the spot because she's here. She
Uh-oh.
knows what we're going to ask.
What? Twilight
Is there a
Zone?
Twilight Zone?
That has Loki?
It has Loki, yeah. Is there a trickster? I mean, or is every episode of Twilight Zone a
Or
trickster?
is it Rob Sterling being Loki, putting these people in this?
I think you hit it.
It's Rod. That's it. Rob Sterling, his lost son.
I think that hit. Yeah, that's on the nose.
Yeah.
But
I was
he
actually
is
thinking about
the
this
trickster.
earlier, and since Georgia didn't go there right away, I had to throw it.
Oh, I love it. No, that's
Rod
totally
Sterling
true.
Is Loki?
Where he's orchestrating all of these
Yeah.
to put everyone through their own, like,
Little,
chaos
kind
is
of
like
to test
it.
humanity's limits, the psychological. Yeah, no, he goes on the list as you know.
He is. He is.
Loki. There you go, Kurt. We came somewhere. You can now leave. When you're on book tour, it'd be like Rod Sterling as Loki. Wow, yeah, that's.
I like
think about
that.
that.
yeah, just because he's orchestrating all of these things just to test humans.
Yeah, and he also has that thing where he's breaking the fourth wall. He is the narrator of this. He already knows what happens.
And it
He's
is a
seen
matter
that,
of going through different time and different,
right,
yeah.
time and dimension.
Yeah,
He's there.
it's
He's somewhat
Acting as a god.
He,
acting as a god. That's right. Kind of manipulating. Dance,
Wow.
puppet dance.
yeah.
Here it is.
All right, guys, this is my exit of the show.
That's
Thank you for my final episode.
That's right. Season 2 is over. We're done. See you season
We've
3.
come to this realization, and that's it.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Doing some research, I see.
Yeah.
You've been saving that up probably since you asked for a Loki episode. I think you've just been waiting for you. You've lured us in over all the episodes.
Yeah. It all came to this point. This is my MCU endgame.
That's it.
But yeah, Loki is definitely one of those characters that it's so interesting to read and watch his character explore life, because he's a god that walks among us, and you get to see how he interacts.
Yeah.
Love it.
And the story, the stories, it can intersect from I'm going to say from a science point of view, because there's time travel. He has those branches where he does multiverse. We talked about MCU. Georgia brought up the Big Macs in reference to him shape-shifting, and we've talked about episodes. How would that work without hand-waving him? Could we get there? Could he change figure in this transfiguration of becoming different things and regeneration? That was in Endgame that with Thanos when this is done. And then psychology, right? The psychology of him interacting with humans and blending in. So you do have these nice intersections of people know consciously they're writing that or unconsciously, but they weave in there into that character in a very unique way. I can't think of many characters that, besides Rod Serling now, who taps into all of these kind of sci-fi speculative kind of tropes, but no one ever talks about. You wrote your Loki story. I'm sure you didn't spend any time talking about quantum chaos theory, string theory. Probably.
No, I only knew
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah.
That's in the second book. Thank you,
That's
Joe.
right, yeah.
the book would probably be a lot better if I had spent more time thinking about chaos theory and weaving it in.
All right, always part 2. That's it. No, you got it. But yeah, no, it is fascinating, and it was like, oh, Loki, and then like you off the top of your, you're like, oh, we're going to talk science. How are we going to fit? When I went to AI route, because I was like, oh, this is it. I've got it. But when you think about it, since our conversation, I've just been thinking about it more, and it's, oh yeah, there are these other intersections that are really cool and could be explored, and maybe are in some ways, especially in a comic book land. I think they explore them, but then in story and literature, it's usually more the humanistic psychology aspect of it, and a reflection of humans and political states, societal states, cultural states, and then a mechanism of you can do it. You can go out, you can rebel, and it's okay because look, Loki did it. So.
And also, feel like with AI, the thing that's really interesting in like the writing community is just thinking in general about the use of AI, like
Yes.
with people in terms of art or whatever, but primarily what the writing community is worried about is in terms of art. And there's a major debate going on right now because a lot of people I know are very like against. I mean, there's AI itself, which is, I feel like it's kind of like you can't put the genie back in the bottle sort
That's
of
right.
thing. Like, it's like you're not going to stop AI from proliferating. You just have to try to control it.
No one's pulling that plug.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think we're done. And just for folks who aren't following this, a lot of it's about the large language models. And so what happened was, you have to feed the AI training data. And from that training data, then it can start to infer. And essentially, it's just, you did an AI episode, it's just math, linear algebra, probability, and it just starts putting connections together and says, well, this word is here, this word's here, this word. And from this training data, it can start to build what it thinks are stories, and then you can feed in particular styles. I want Stephen King, so you feed it all to Stephen King. So once you train it how the language works, then potentially you could feed it people's style, because every writer, Kurt, myself, Ben, who's a guest here, some of our other writer guests that have been on, we all have our own voice, and we develop that voice, and we find that voice. We struggle at times to explore our voice. And when you have that, then now it's, the AI, they could feed us in and then come out the other end with something that sounds like us. And I think in the music, art, the whole thing, that's the fear of it all. That
I do feel like right now at this point, it is very one note though.
It is, yeah. It lacks
they
a
don't
lot.
have any dynamic. There's no true depth
yeah.
to their writing.
And I played around a lot.
Word matching? I don't know. It's not writing. It's just mush of words.
Yes, it lacks for better expression, soul and voice, I think. And
Right.
when you read it, you prompt, and I've read the New York Times did a great thought piece, and I forget the author who participated.
Was it an AI article?
No, it was, they had reader generated prompts, keywords. I think it was like sandals, beach, and it was like write a rom-com. So they got a rom-com author of some notoriety, and they said, hey, would you participate? Yes. And then they fed AI the same keywords and said, hey, write a rom-com, 1,000 words, whatever, there's parameters. And then in New York Times, they had both stories. And they said, okay, read both stories, and then can you tell which one is the author written and which one's the AI written? And you could feel which one was AI generated because it lacked something. It tried really hard to write the prompts in, versus the other one was a little more organic in nature and the prompts. So it was a really interesting kind of thing. And yet over and over where people do it. And people go, you keep feeding it, it's going to get better and better. But early in the episode, I said that actually is getting a little worse. So it is a interesting dynamic and discussion. And I think just to cap it, I think AI can be a useful tool. And we should think of it as a tool and maybe not the creative engine. And that's a debate. And I think there's hardliners that go, it shouldn't be a tool, it shouldn't be anything. there's other folks that are like,
It also depends on how it's abused.
that's because there's a lot. I think the abuse comes because especially writing, people
And
think that writers make tons of money. And if they write a novel, that and it's like,
Well,
Wait,
and
you
then-
guys don't?
And then
What?
I think what the bottom line of any kind of thing, the abuse usually is tied to money and trying to find, and like illustrators especially,
hey, yeah.
they're trying to cut out paying an illustrator to illustrate a book. Oh, we can just use these AI images and also the environmental impact of all of it. It's all the resources that are going into.
There's power going in. Yeah.
Do you think that's overblown? The people's concern about that?
I mean, all right, maybe.
That might be a different episode.
there's
There's
sorry.
AI
So-
part 2?
I think that's right. We need to do AI part 2. We'll get maybe some artists on with us, but some other artists. But you have it, I think, with we're all artists here. Sorry, co-hosts and Kurt. Sorry, that's right. Yeah, this
I
is
just
an
gave
AI
Georgia that
episode.
look.
Welcome in.
Additional artists.
That's right. Yeah, additional artists. A round table of artists. Let's say that.
Images and
Yeah.
actors snap their voices. And,
That's right. Yeah, you have it. Even us. I mean, I think the three of us now have enough vocal material out there that AI could potentially
They
replicate
could do
us.
our job for us.
The rabbit hole of research lives on forever.
I think we've already got
Well,
it.
yeah.
Win with that one.
Like, who would ever even ask for that?
You never know. We hit big, then I'll be like, there'll be clones. The rabbit hole of the lamb's hole of lamb chops. Like, hold on, is that us?
We just do a whole series of just lamb chops.
No, but the AI argument, I love it, and it's just really, I'm very fascinated about it. I played around with it, try things, see the limitation, where it works, where it doesn't, and yeah, it's interesting. But from a writing creative perspective, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's not
It's
useful
no
for
Rod
that.
Serling.
No Rod Serling, no Loki yet, but yeah, but that's it.
So besides your own work, what's your favorite iteration of Loki? Sorry, I had to put not your own.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's the basic one that you get from reading the different interpretations of the myths. I mean, Tom Hiddleston's Loki is just so ubiquitous. I mean, it's really good. It's hard to say. I mean, I guess I like the MCU version, but I mean, I like mine better than the MCU version because it's more literary than film focused, but it's very cool.
Now, would you have Ty Diggs or Denzel Washington play your Loki, or neither, or you got a different actor? And
Yeah, I don't know. I played around with the idea of not making him look like anybody, and that was just too vague, even for literature. But I think that in this day and age, I think with Denzel at the age that he is, you'd probably need to find somebody a little younger. But you could de-age, mix Ty and Denzel together and de-age. I guess Jay Diggs is
You mean-
he's probably
you don't mean
getting up there,
using
too.
AI, do you?
Yeah, I guess I do.
That's what they did in Star Wars, with Princess Leia, and they de-aged and they did all that, which is interesting. I mean, they gave permission though. They said, yeah, it was a collaborative thing.
It was really interesting what you said a little earlier, Joe, about how AI is based on algebra. And I hadn't really thought of that, but that's really interesting, and that explains why it doesn't get all the nuances of voice, whether that voice is written or in music or in art or
Yeah,
whatever.
the algebra and probability. So it's making a guess at some level. That's how a cat becomes a washing machine, right? Because it takes some picture or information and it's like, now, oh, what is this thing? And it's limited, right? I mean, it's really interesting because people go, oh, the AI is faster and better than the human brain. But really, if you've been around kids or even yourself learning something, we have essentially one-shot learning, right? So the minute we have a reference image, a ball, a round thing, we call it a ball. If you see a basketball, a soccer ball, a football, we only need to see it once, and then we can identify that thing With AI, you need hundreds and thousands of examples, maybe tens of thousands of examples of different angles, different lighting. If it's dim light, we still know a baseball from a basketball. Like we're not confused by that. But AI is, I think these are footballs. And you already got the ball part right. But I think that's where we see that the human mind and how it comes to its conclusions is still maybe superior. Also, energy-wise, I think Georgia brought up energy. I think that the human brain uses something like 20 or 30 watts of energy. That's a dim light bulb. Not too.
Yep, that's what they described me as, a dim light bulb.
And so that means
not appropriate.
So we do all this. We have this phenomenal machine, this phenomenal lump of fat that we carry around that is extraordinary. And I don't want, like I said, we might do an AI part 2 episode, but which we probably should. But yeah, yes. It's linear algebra. There's a few other maths in there, but linear algebra and probability are the big two. That's what you're doing. You're running these computational models, and then it guesses at the end. The lowest maxima, it goes, I think this is it. Yes, go. And that's the hallucinations come in. Then it's just, this is making up some stuff. It's like, you know what? I really don't know, Kurt. But yeah, he wrote, I tried it. I typed my name in. Tell me about Jotham Austin's stories. And he gave me this whole list of all these stories I wrote. And some of them sounded pretty cool. I was like, you know what? Did I write this? And
when it was first out, every writer did that. And I remember talking to other writers, and you put your own name in there, and it comes up with these books that you didn't write.
Yeah. And dates, and it was very convincing. I was like, you know what? Maybe I did write this story.
So what if it was just a alternate reality version of you that
right.
pulled from?
Multiverse.
Or, I didn't bring this up because I know Wes is going to be listening, but maybe we're in a simulation. And Loki is that glitch. That's the glitch in the simulation we're looking for. You hear me, Wes? I'm talking to you out there. Sorry, Wes was he was on our simulation episode. He's a big believer that we live in a simulation. That's a shout out to him. That Loki is proof.
Wow, Loki is everything.
Loki is everything. There it is. We should get that on a t-shirt. Loki is everything.
Please buy my book.
And on that note, you want to go ahead and do a little plug-in in there for your book?
I know you can't see me out there, guys, but you will see an image. This is my book, Twilight and Gods. It's my second novel, and it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and in bookstores all over the place. And you can get it in hardback, which is a little more expensive, but it has a nice dust jacket, and it's got the jacket copy is rewritten in runes, and so that's cool. And or you can get it in this trade paperback, or you can get it in Kindle or some other form of electronic book, which is actually how I read most of my books.
Or audiobook, or
Not yet, but there will be.
Cool.
Very cool.
That's on that.
And you said you were finishing your book tour. Are you headed out anywhere else that people might find you?
Yeah,
or?
so I'm going to be at Water Street Books in Exeter, New Hampshire at the end of May. And I'm also going to be in Boston for a couple of days just hanging out with friends because I lived in Boston for a long time. Cool. And I have a festival in Des Moines, Iowa late in June. But those are the last couple dates that I have for the tour. Yeah, so now I'm just going to try to decompress from that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's been nuts. It's like I keep coming back home and I only have time to do the dishes and wash my clothes.
Thanks for making time for us.
Yeah, definitely.
It was an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
So you have me, Joe.
You got Nick.
We got Nick.
In Georgia.
We got Georgia. Thank you, Kurt. And
we went down some holes.
Some trickster holes. They might have been holes.
Oh my.
Y'all stay safe out there. Love you.
Bye-bye.